Good afternoon, my beautiful babes and babettes. I am your resident active advocate, and today I would like to talk to you about The Incredibles 2. This is a really good movie, but I find that it has a bit of a mixed message. It's difficult for me to read it. To be fair, today was my very first time watching it, but I like the movie overall, and I like the message of the movie overall. I want to talk especially about The Incredibles 2 in regards to politics and in regards to advocacy, because that's what I do. All right, so in The Incredibles 1, I believe I titled my video on that The Incredibles and Neuroatypicality, okay? Because the framing of that movie was different than the framing for this one. The framing of the first movie was that supers are different and therefore bad. There was also the narrative thread of supers are better than the average person and therefore are bad, because I believe I said in that video, people tend to be, they shouldn't be, but they tend to be intimidated by excellence. We are afraid of excellence because it sort of shows us where we might be lacking, and if we don't have the potential to lift a vehicle over our heads, just to stick with the ideas in the movie here, then, what are we? We're just weak humans. But in translation to the real world, we may see a great artist doing their thing and say, why can't I do that? Well, you have two choices there. You have the choice to either envy them. Let's say they are especially good at the craft that you want to be good in. You can sit there and envy them, or you can do your own work and do good for yourself. That particular narrative thread, to do good for yourself, carries over into this movie, all right? Towards the very beginning of the movie, someone says that politicians fear people who do good just because. That is 100% true to the real world. If you think about any very great political, philosophical, religious, cultural leader of the past freaking ever, what ended up happening to them on the large scale? Jesus, murdered. Gandhi, murdered. Nelson Mandela, locked in prison. Rosa Parks, very heavily persecuted. All these great people who tried to do good things for the world and for the people they represent, in Mandela's case and Rosa Parks' case and Gandhi's, well, in all of their cases, really, okay? The people who tried to do good were often looked down upon by the establishment and still tend to be. If people do good just because, some people in society, especially those at the very tippy top, will kind of look at it and say, I smell a rat. This can't be right. What are you getting out of it? Because the main conceit of capitalism, the main conceit of pyramidal hierarchy is, what can I get out of X? And that's also part of the deal with this movie. What can I get out of it? At least at the beginning. The movie has a bit of a problem with mixed messages, I found, but this was my first time watching it. So there's that part of the narrative, and I'm 100% on board with that, because in the real world, that statement applies to real people. The whole idea of doing good just because. Why don't we do good just because? Well, our society has conditioned us to want a reward for doing good. I'm not trying to, to punch anyone's beliefs in the face here, but a lot of the time in religion, it's to get a better afterlife. In politics, it's to make money, to improve your social standing. Even if you're not making money, you're just improving the way other people look at you, which could lead to better opportunities in the future. Pot calling the kettle black, by the way, because a lot of people could look at this and say, well, why are you doing this? I am doing this, quite frankly, to make other people aware of what is going on in the world in regards to, minority populations, of which I belong to a few of those. But I'm also, I am doing this for me, but I'm not doing this to get a good job. I'm doing this as a matter of interest. I'm doing this just as a matter of course to keep from being bored, quite frankly. And I know that it's a very vapid motivation, but it's only one of my motivations. I have a few. But in regards to the movie, it's a little bit ironic because the villain of the movie, the screenslaver, says that that is normal people in the world, rely on supers to get the good work done, to fight the good fight, to fight so that we don't have to. In translation to the real world ethos, okay, this is our reliance on politicians, on rich people, on humanitarians, on famous people to do our work for us, to do the good that we are capable of doing, to do it for us, so that we can sit on our butts in front of our computers, in front of our phones, in front of our TVs, and look at life being done. All right? I was watching a video last night that was made by Russell Brand. I am culturally illiterate, okay, but I believe this guy's a comedian. Toward the end of the video, he says, "You are personally responsible for changing the world." All right? I have in my possession my big book of quotes. All right? This is the second volume of the big book of quotes. Mwah. The first one I gave to my favorite professor back in university after I graduated, or just before I graduated. But that quote from Russell Brand, followed up by a bunch of stuff before it, I put that in my book immediately. You are, and yes, I'm pointing at you, anyone watching this video, you are personally responsible for changing the world. Don't rely on other people to get it done. The politicians aren't going to help, okay? Famous people can help. It depends on their intentions. But you can't rely on people who are higher than you in the hierarchy to get it done, okay? Power and influence stay at the top in order for the system to keep running. But in order to bring down the hierarchical system, we have to realize the power that we have as individuals and say, no, I'm not going to let it stay up there. I want it to come down here to me, and not to be given, but to be claimed. Anything that is given can just as easily be taken away, okay? And I don't mean claim through violence. I am strictly nonviolent, like 100% pacifist. I do not advocate for violent revolution. Revolution, by the way, is a useless word because have you ever seen a record or a CD or any kind of disc going around? Well, a revolution, you see what I'm doing with my finger here? It means that you end up in the same place you started. Revolution is a useless term. I don't like it. There are other better words to use for this. But the irony of this movie is that while the movie preaches that form of self-assertion, of self-advocacy, of making the world around you better on your own, through your own merit, through your own efforts, this is being marketed to you by Disney. Disney. I don't mind Disney. They're a good thing for as far as they go. They don't go far enough, and they are a corporate empire. I need to point out just the, not hypocrisy, but just the flat-out irony of this. So this, I think, is all about social structure, social hierarchy, and everyone's capacity to do good. Don't sit around and wait for good to be done, because where has that gotten us so far? Like, really, look at the world around you. And I'm not even talking about the thing we're not allowed to talk about right now, because no one can really help that except to get vaccinated. Get vaccinated. I'm looking at you. I'm judging you. Get vaccinated. No one can help that other than that one thing that you can do to make everyone's lives easier, including your own. No one can help it when when disasters happen. No one can help it when illness breaks out. There are certain things that by nature are beyond our control. But being the thinking, sentient creatures that we are, and because I believe in the inherent good of humanity, I am asking you right here, right now, do something good for someone else. I'm trying, okay? And the only thing anyone can do is try. And this isn't me, being self-aggrandizing or whatever that word is. I'm not trying to say I'm the hero. I'm not, okay? I'm normal. I'm just like you. Might have freaky eyes, and I can't make my left eye look the way I want it to. But that's totally irrelevant. What matters is that no matter what card we are dealt, we play it well. And everyone has a card in their hand. I don't care who you are, you have a card in your hand. You may have 2 cards in your hand. You may have 3 or 4. Whatever cards you have, play them effectively. Do it! I'm looking at you. I am judging you. And that's fun, isn't it? Getting judgment from someone you don't even know. It's great! The message of this movie is a little bit mixed because, as I say, it's Disney telling you to do these things, and a number of years ago, Revolution was marketed as the cool thing. You got all the YA dystopian fantasy, power fantasy fiction stories. You got The Incredibles 2, all these sort of appeal to the youth and make them rebellious kind of thing. But the problem is they're not actually relying on you wanting to get up from the couch, wanting to get off your phone. They know that these plots are intriguing, that these plots will make you think and go, hey, oh wait, no, someone else can do it. It's fine. I can stay on the couch. But that's what they're relying on. And I know I'm using the word they a lot, and it's a very non-specific word. I mean the corporate entities that run our lives, because there are a lot of them. In America, especially, you have a very, 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 very ridiculously, just unnecessarily large military. And because I am strictly nonviolent, I don't like that. But I'm not an American citizen. So what can I do? I believe this was either Confucius or Lao Tzu who said this, but the whole thing about if I better myself, I can better my family. If I better my family, I can better my community. If I better my community, I can better my city. If I better my city, I can better my province or whatever. If I better my province, I can better my country. If I better my country, I can better my world. These steps seem infinitely large, but it has to start with one person. And then you get the chain reaction. Because people need to, and people do, lead by example. This is what we need to do. These are the sacrifices that, yes, we must make. Put down the phone. Get off the chair. Get off the couch. I'm talking to myself here, too. Use your brains, not your weapons. Thank you, for the love of the gods. And do some good in the world. Because that's what Disney is not relying on you to do. And who doesn't want to prove the mouse wrong? Oh boy! Right? Awesome. All right, so that is my grandstanding about The Incredibles 2 and its odd mixture of messages. But like I say, the mouse isn't relying on you to do anything positive for the world. So do it. All right. Have a lovely, wonderful day, and I hope this didn't put too many people off because I was being kind of bitchy. But yeah, that is The Incredibles 2 and my analysis thereof. And it is a good movie, don't get me wrong. Go watch it even, and then do what it says. Cool. Get vaccinated, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Mwah!